I'm joined by Finn Brodie, the one-man band behind the Mythical Press, a monthly magazine for Draw Steel. How does he intend to keep up the pace? What can we look forward to? And tell us more about the Rotterhund and the 2-in-1 siren. I'm John Denore, and this is Goblin Points. Welcome to Goblin Points, Finn Brodie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Let's hear a introduction about yourself and also how you came into the Matt Colville / MCDM community.
This is the Mythical Press. I am the Mythical Press, I guess. I'm the writer, the illustrator, and designer for everything. So everything you see in my magazines is purely me. I also have. I didn't want to give a shout out to my friends at Lycan. They created like a small band of they want to do more folk music, so they've been doing some music for me, which I'm hoping to release at a later date. So I also want to shout them out as well. But yeah, the Mythical Press is we're in month 2 now, and the support from the MCDM community has been incredible. So I'll just segue into where I fit in all that as well. Is I've been watching Matt Colville since I think his first year. I was very early on. I started playing D&D pretty much when 5e first came out, and it was in this perfect sort of like world where I was first or second year of university, and I probably should have been doing more studying, but I discovered D&D. Critical Role had just come out, and I started watching that. I discovered Matt Colville from, I think, I'm not sure where to start. I think I just happened upon him and then just started watching his videos, and then I was hooked. And going through like the early days of campaign 1 for Critical Role, and I would go and watch Matt Colville's videos, and I'd spend hours just writing stories, and it was. And then Stranger Things came out as well, and so I was really, when D&D was exploding, I was there. But I guess I haven't made it such a big part of my life until very recently, when I was like, I got back into drawing during lockdown, and I didn't know that I wanted to be an illustrator. I knew I enjoyed writing, but I'd always been a drawer, and that was like my passion is drawing and artwork and that kind of stuff. But I put it away for like so many years, and then during lockdown I came back into it because I was playing more, and I was playing twice a week, which is unheard of nowadays. And just seeing, and just I'd be running games and having these amazing moments with my friends, and then just these images burned in my head, and I was like, I need to get this down. And then as soon as I start like drawing all these images and these creatures and that kind of stuff, it just reignited the spark within me, and I realized I should have been doing it the whole time. Yeah. So and then that kind of evolved from there. In the past 6 years was just wanting to create more stuff, and I'd create monsters all the time for my friends. I became very used to creating things and designing monsters, and I had my own thought processes about how monsters should be designed and how they should look, and being disappointed with 5e creatures, and then thinking I can make this better. I think I can make this more interesting. And then it just evolved and evolved and evolved until I started making D&D creatures. So the Mythical Press is actually not new for Draw Steel. I was actually doing the exact same thing for D&D for a good maybe 8 months, I think. But I just got nowhere. There was no. I was posting like fairly regularly. Every month a new creature was coming out. It looked quite similar to what my magazines are now, but there was just no appetite for it, I guess. I would get a few people coming through and looking at the kind of stuff, and maybe someone becomes a member, but really there was nothing. And then Draw Steel came out like a few months after I'd released Mythical Press for D&D, and it was Flea Mortals that pushed me to make my own creature and to make Mythical Press, because I thought, Flea Mortals did amazingly. There's clearly an appetite here for a desire for people who want more tactical monsters and something with more grit and something like for them to like chew on as DMs. But when it came down to it and there was no interest, I kind of thought, well, if all the people, and then Draw Steel obviously was doing amazingly.
Yeah.
There was kind of a part of me that thought, well, if everybody who liked Flea Mortals I think probably have just come over to Draw Steel, I imagine, then that's clearly where my audience are. Those people who want to see that, that's what they are. And I was already excited for Draw Steel. Like I backed it, like what, 3 years ago now. I'd already backed it before I even made the Mythical Press. And then and then it came out, and then I kind of stayed away from it. I didn't want to really delve into it until I got the book. The books. I know like the early playtest stuff was coming out and people were reading that and talking about it, but I largely stayed away from it until I got the physical books. We were playing a campaign for the Fallout TTRPG with my friends, and that came to like a natural close, and then we were all chomping at the bit to play Draw Steel, and I was really excited to play Draw Steel, and then as soon as it happened, we were all hooked, and that's when I closed the Mythical Press's chapter with D&D, and just thought it's much easier in a way to make creatures and interesting mechanics around creatures for Draw Steel than it is for D&D. But which is one thing that really surprised me actually, because I used to find like my ideas for the creatures would overreach D&D's mechanics, I guess. Like if I had an idea of like I'd say I did a dragon or something, some sort of creature like that, and I thought, a cool chase scene down a mountain. You've just stolen someone's treasure and you're escaping out of the mountain while it's chasing you. That could be like a really cool thing. I would have to invent montage tests and rules for that to happen. I can't just use the template that Draw Steel has for their montage test and be like and do it for mine. I had to create the rules myself, and that was draining, and it took ages, and it wasn't very fun. But then as soon as it came to Draw Steel, I'm like, well, the montage tests are just there, and all the books come with like the encounter books for their different stories come with like tactics pages on how to basically do a fight with each creature, and I was like, well, I can use that as a template and riff off of that and make it my own and make it more interesting and do it for my creatures. It was just felt like a square peg in a round hole with D&D, and then when it came to Draw Steel, it just fit perfectly. It makes sense because it was Matt Colville and Flea Mortals, that kind of stuff, that pushed me to make this kind of stuff. And then the game that they made for themselves is the one that just fits naturally. So yeah, and then once I released it for Mythical Press for Draw Steel, I wanted to really get into meet the community, I guess, which is not something I'd really done before. I'd never got into the D&D community. I was just playing with my friends and that was it. But since it's became much more serious for me than just a game I played just once a week, I start like recognizing names now, and people are commenting, and I know them, and they commented before, and this person is a member, and he's they comment on my kind of stuff or liking this, and it feels much more of a community rather than just an empty theater with about 5 people that I was trying to shout at. It feels more like a more enclosed room, but a full room rather than just like trying to shout into an empty theater. So it's been a wonderful experience the past 2 months, and I'm hoping for more.
And speaking of past 2 months, because you've set a pace of 1 magazine a month, which is, I would say, very ambitious. Are you confident you're gonna be able to keep up with that pace?
It's it is once a month, but with 3 breaks per year. So
Okay, but still though.
yeah, it is. I have set the pace, but I'm also working 4 months ahead. So
Oh, okay.
I'm currently working on November's release, and then we'll be having December break, which means that when I start working on the creature after that, which should be during September, I'm working on January's. So I'm very much working ahead of myself, which is when I stopped doing D&D creatures, I basically spent 4 months making content, so that when I was ready to release, I'm working ahead of myself. I'm not chasing my tail constantly. And the 3 month and the break every 3 months really does really does stagger it quite nicely for me. And I find each one typically takes around 3 to 4 weeks to make. So it's basically one a month, and then with a month break. So as long as I don't fall behind, it should be. I feel confident that it's I'm working to a nice pace. The month breaks are purely because unforeseen things happen. Like I'm moving to. We're having a break for September because I'm moving to Scotland. So it's going to be which is a stressful time. I don't want the added stress of trying to feel like I need to rush out something. I also don't want to, if I try and rush something, then the content's not going to. I feel like it will tell. So yeah, and I feel like the base design for each magazine is, I think, to be thrown together quite quickly. I usually once I spend a bit of time sort of getting some ideas together and references, and I'll watch something and I'll give me some more ideas, and then I can basically just vomit out all the words and every idea, and I'll just create this massive brainstorms, and I find from there it all just flows very quickly. But I also intersperse it with some creatures I feel like deserve more content, and other creatures are just something you just want to just hack and slash at, and they're just great for a one big fight, and that's their purpose. And then some creatures, like the Witch that will be coming out in October, has a lot more content surrounded it than the Rotterhund or the Siren. There's not a montage test. There wasn't one in my head that came to me that I felt would be a good fit, so I just didn't include it. But there are negotiation. There's a whole page for negotiations with a witch.
Makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that kind of I don't want to force a montage test where I don't feel like there is one, but a negotiation can replace that and work perfectly. So it's the information on like what she might want and what she might be able to give, which I think with negotiations, I've also listened to the feedback from the community about how some things are in Drossel are lacking, which is actually fine. Like we all love this game, but it's not a perfect game.
Yeah.
But there's room to grow there. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for the Witch. I don't want to speak too much about it, but I've been working with some things that I think are going to kind of should maybe change negotiations a little bit and kind of get people thinking about how they could apply similar things to every creature that you could potentially have a negotiation with. It makes sense. It makes sense to me when I was making the Witch that a negotiation with a creature like that should feel meaningfully different. In the same way you imagine like negotiating with the dragon should, in the books, in the Doorsteel book, there's not a bit for negotiating with the dragon. And it said you can swap this out with like a king or something like that, and that doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel like you could be able to swap out a negotiation with the dragon with a king. A dragon negotiating with the dragon should feel like you're negotiating with the dragon. So I imagine, like in The Hobbit, where Smaug's eyes come over Bilbo and he starts sweating profusely and he gets the shakes. I feel like that should be a thing in negotiating with the dragon. You lose recoveries for like how long for each negotiation you make with it, as its eyes like fall on you. if it should feel like you're negotiating with the dragon. So I had that mindset going into it. So hopefully that comes across, and hopefully I'll make more in the future.
I'm very intrigued now by the
Yeah,
witch.
yeah. Is I'm really excited for it to come out. I think there's a lot that I'm working with there, and it probably I'm confident people will find a lot to love there. But I'm also happy that it's almost like a not a first draft in a way, but it's definitely stuff that maybe we haven't seen that much from Draw Steel yet. So I'm excited to get some feedback from that from the community, and then do more of that in the future. Well, after having listened to them. So yeah, I'm very excited.
I'm a sucker for negotiations. I love the idea, but the implementation in the core rules doesn't live up to my ideas necessarily. But I feel like they are incorrectly maligned by parts of the community. I think they have a lot of potential. I just think they need a bit longer in the oven. So now I'm really looking forward to the witch, because I've also looked at supplement recently called Speak Carefully, which kind of tries to do some extra stuff with negotiations. And there's also The Withering War, which also has a heavy, leans heavily on negotiations, according to the author. So I feel like I'm I'm getting all these treats now.
Yeah, I want more.
Yeah.
The first negotiation my players and I ever had, it was kind of like it was odd. It felt like we were like doing something wrong, but then it all like suddenly clicked with all of us at the same time, and the rest was just a blast. And we had such a fun with our first negotiation. But then naturally we did more negotiations, and I started to see where the cracks are, and I started to see, okay, there's a sense of like my players aren't dumb. They've been playing TTRPGs with me for about 10 years now. And we've played quite a few as well, so they know how the game is played, and they know that they can like maybe win it in a certain way. And that's kind of why I don't like the negotiations. There's a sense of I can win this. I can ask it, like the devil character knows they can ask a question every single time, and they'll probably get a likely answer because they're very good at it.
Yeah.
As in, like ask them what they want, and potentially get a one of their motivations, or learn one of the pitfalls are. And there's a sense of like gaming that. So yeah, that's where I get into the sense of like, so like some creatures should be able to, you know, like the players have ways of interacting with negotiations, but monsters don't. And I feel like that's unfair. so I'm intrigued to get for monsters to have their own abilities and their own traits that work within negotiations. I can imagine there are some creatures that are quite impatient and might get progressively more angry the more you start asking what they want, and so yeah, and then it just forces the players to think a little bit more rather than just be like slamming the "What do you want" button. So yeah, so I've got ideas, and I'm excited to implement them a little bit more. And the Witch is like the first like draft of that, I think. So I'm excited to see what people think, and if I can do better in the future, or if people are like, or if people start using that for themselves and thinking of themselves about how other creatures could have similar traits. So yeah, I'm excited.
And speaking of creatures, let's jump back to the first issue, the Rotterhund.
Yeah, I mean, the Rotterhund was, I think, taken to me in a fever dream. And the name I just plucked out of, and I literally think I dreamed it up at one point, but it stuck in my head. But like big like black hounds are rife in like old folklore, and that's the kind of stories that I'm really interested in, and I'm excited to bring that to Jaw Steel. That kind of like Scandinavian or old English or Celtic folklore. The Rotterhund is based off of like a Welsh creature, and also the Bargest. Yeah, so it's one of those. It fits into that same category of large black hound, but an original take on it as well.
My immediate thought went to the Hounds of Baskerville for some
But
reason.
there's that, yeah, exactly that as well. It's that's what I mean. It's like large black hounds are a thing for
Yeah.
particularly European English folklore. It's definitely a thing. So I was really excited, and that's my own creation. So I was excited for that to be my debut creature, I guess.
Mm. It feels very mythological immediately with the I wrote down baby snatching theme. It sounds a bit horrible, but you also have like a content warning on the first page, second page, about there being like infanticide, and there might be a sensitive topic to some, which I appreciate, but it also makes it feel very, to me it immediately feels very like Brothers Grimm kind of a fairy tale, which often are very grotesque, and the modern versions retellings are much more sanitized.
Very watered down, very kid friendly, instead of being strictly kid unfriendly. But yeah, it was one of those things where I saw that also had content warnings for their stuff, and my initial response was not to include a content warning. It wasn't like, not that I admit, like my initial thought was to omit it. It's just I didn't think about it. But when I had a deeper thought about it, you don't know what people's backstories are. I don't want my creatures to come across like my creatures are like, they're rooted in quite dark fantasy. But that doesn't mean that there has to be a dark fantasy creature. I feel like it can just be a large black hound that is aggressive, and that'd be absolutely fine. But also, if people ever wanted a darker take for their tales, which is a very classic fairy tale thing, it can also fit that bill perfectly. I would hate to read through that and think, oh, this is a very cool monster, and then read about it snatching children, and then be like, not my bag. I'll stop reading, and then that's sad. That's and I would hate for someone to be reading my magazines and see that. So it is something I'll be thinking about going forward. Is just, does this creature have a very strong sense, or part of its story do something where I feel like it really does need a content warning? And I lean more towards dark fantasy stuff. It's the old Celtic, the European folktales are pretty gnarly. They're not. They're pretty gruesome. So and I really enjoy that, and a lot of people do, but it's not for everyone. And I know that, and to put people off unnecessarily.
I think also the cover image of the Rotterhund is fantastic, and it immediately evoked like the right kind of vibe with how dark it is, and the parts of the hound being like exposed, the innards being exposed, and the chaos of the legs.
The legs were, to anyone who's an artist out there, the composition for all 6 legs was difficult. It was difficult just to not make it look like they're just everywhere. But no, I'm really happy with it. The style I want to go for the Mythical Press covers is that classic heavy metal.
Oh yeah.
Magazine, like the old Frasettas and that kind of Horace Vallejo, but with probably less naked women. So a more modern friendly version. Yeah, so that's what is inspired the images, and also that was one of the things I changed from D&D. I kind of put it down into a little bit of a illustrator trying to make his way in the world tangent. I was trying to treat every cover when I was doing Mythical Press with D&D, like a portfolio piece, like any,
Mm.
and I was putting a lot of work into it, and I'm quite proud of them. I learned a lot. I know I can do better now, but only because I've made mistakes with them, and I spent a lot of time with them, and I now know I can do my artwork to a higher level, to those kind of standards. But the covers took like 3 weeks, and
Right.
it's just not, it's not tenable. I could have done it sooner, but I've also worked part time while I do all this time. I also changed up just the style of my covers, where I want to throw everything at the wall and make them really like awesome and eye catching and like very heavy metal, and but it also needs to be simple, and I need
Mm.
to not get carried away. I want to throw literally everything at the wall. It just needs to stand. It just it's very much like I need to not treat every piece like it's going to go sit in my portfolio.
Mm.
Every single piece should just be a fun and awesome cover that takes me a week to make.
Right.
Without having to. So that's another sort of thing that has given me the confidence to be like, I think I can manage a monthly magazine, because I made all the mistakes with the first iteration of Mythical Press, and was stressing myself out unnecessarily, and each magazine would take me 2 weeks to write, and then 3 weeks, like 2.5 weeks or to 3 weeks to make the cover for, and it was as soon as it get past that 1 month mark, I know I'm now dealing with time I don't have.
Mm.
So I really trimmed everything down to get to a stage where I can feel like this is doable within 3 to 4 weeks.
I also wanted to talk about one of the part of the design of the Rotterhund, because you call it a dirge hound, like it's commonly known as a dirge hound.
Yeah.
And it has this dirge mechanic where it starts getting louder and louder the further into combat you go. Where to me, it almost read like like Malice is like the heroic resource of the director, but the dirge points that you have added to the Rotterhund almost feels like a heroic resource for the Rotterhund specifically, where
Yeah,
there are certain triggers that makes it build up more and more of these dirge points, which then translates into more powerful attacks, or at least, yeah.
Like I think it gains one at the start of each turn, and then it has like different malice features that also give it more dirge points, and then or give its dirge like the next time people hear it, it weakens them or something like that. I'm not really sure where the idea of the dirge came from. Draw still just has, it's so designing for it is so open ended. I feel like I can just add in something like dirge points and it feel normal and natural and intuitive. But yeah, it was really a sense of like I wanted players to again think more, like have to. It's not just a case of the big tanks go in and start harrying it. It's like, well, it also hits very hard. And if I start my turn right next to it, I'm gonna be taking a chunk more damage. So it plays really it plays really really interestingly. It's almost like this thing of get in close, but then also I don't want to be next to it, so I need to leave and get away from it. And so it plays really interestingly, and I would love to hear if anyone has like stories, if they've used it in their game, and stories about it, because it's a really fun monster. I guess that also leads me on to the director's cut for the higher tier, where I get to like expand on the feat on like the monsters a little bit more. So I think the dirge was just for the base version of the Rotterhund, it just builds its dirge points and it just progresses throughout the fight. But for the director's cut, it has it builds more, it gets more dirge points at the start of its turn, but the players have a way to interact with it. They can if they hit it really hard, it might knock the Rotterhund off its dirge, and it decreases the dirge points. And there's an element of, but that it really does. It relies on the director telegraphing that to the players, or even just flat out telling them this is how the mechanic works, and then they get to feel like their decisions within the fight matter. and I think that's really important for just TTRGs and just battles in general. Like the players should feel like their ideas and their tactics, whether they work or if they roll it a little bit lower and it doesn't happen, they feel like their decisions matter.
Mm.
So that was a really fun thing to I guess extrapolate on, was to create that side of it. And that's really what I like for my monsters, to feel like the players have some kind of agency, like what they do to the creatures matters. Like with the siren, if they can kill its lure, they knock out a part of it, and the siren is bleeding. So there's a tactile element to, which one of them do you target first.
I really like that part of the siren design, because the lure comes as a companion almost to the siren, but they need to stay adjacent to the siren at all times. And as you mentioned, both if you kill the lure first, you make the siren bleeding, but also if you try to push the lure away, they also take damage, because it's not like physically possible for them to separate like that.
Yeah, that was really fun. It is a quite a chunk of text, but I feel like it's one of those things where you read once and you've got the idea. It's pretty intuitive. But there is it's a really fun element of everyone knows what a siren is. So I was really excited to sort of like bring this idea of like, it's, there's more to the siren just lurking beneath the surface, and that was a really fun idea that I ran with. But yeah, that design was really, really interesting and fun, and I didn't want people to feel like, if I force move the lure away from the siren, that nothing happens. It should again, they should feel like they have agency, and maybe it happens once and they see what happens and how they both take damage, and then the null player starts just knock back in the doing knockback on the lure as much as possible. So it's just a fun. I want my monsters to be fun. I want them to be interesting and memorable and interesting, fun.
I was really pleasantly surprised when reading the second issue with the siren and the lure, that it wasn't all going to be solo monsters, because that was my initial what I imagined initially when you announced the magazine, that, well, there's going to be one monster a month. Well, that's clearly going to be a solo, and it was for the first month. But then for the second issue, you immediately went to an elite and the lure is a horde, I think. So
yes,
but so you create a very different encounter with those, and I really appreciated that it wasn't just oops, all solos.
Yeah. I mean, there is. I would like to see more solo monsters, and they are super fun. But I feel like if I only do solo monsters, it's very limiting. I'm limiting myself. But then it creates such a certain idea of, it's a conversation I had to have with myself. Because do I do all solo monsters, or you think about wyverns are a good example. Like, you would think that a wyvern might be like a solo monster, but there's two versions of it. If I don't want a creature to be a solo, do I then have to include two versions of it to make people feel like they're actually having enough content? So it's something I'm just going to take each monster on its own and decide whether I think it needs to be a solo monster, or I can get two variations from it. So I think I think a lot of them will end up being solo monsters, but I do have ideas in the future about there won't always be the case.
I also wanted to mention, because before the monster stat blocks, you do include like a bit of both a backstory or like some context for the monster itself. And you also include story hooks for like the director, like why would the heroes end up fighting the sirens, for example? And you have some small hooks that director can kind of get inspired by.
Yeah, it feels intuitive. Like, why would a magazine about a monster not include? They don't have to be. I kind of toy with the idea of how big or like in depth they need to be. And I tend to come to the conclusion that people enjoy writing their own stories.
Mm.
I don't think I need to give them any more than just like an idea that maybe they didn't have. Something like a different way to think about it. Even if it just jolts a story out of their head and they just immediately start writing. I want to give people the tools to make their own fun. I don't want to do it for them or hold their hands, because people don't want that. I think the general consensus is that the majority of people don't play like pre-made stories. I think a lot of people probably did the D&D and Tune, but I think a lot of people just they make their own stories. I did it. I did the D&D and Tune. I think is the second pre-made story I've ever ran in any TTRPG in 10 years. Looking like working through the book was a new experience for me. So yeah, I don't want to take it off them. I just want to give them the tools to do it themselves. And if it's just a little like a quick bullet point where there's a story idea that I haven't thought of and it jolts, it gets the creative juices flowing. That's a win for me.
And speaking of creative juices, I guess another thing that you include for at least both of the something that you include for both of the monsters is both a battle map, but not just because you mentioned in the text that Draw Steel, almost more than a lot of other TTRPGs, need good battle maps. And you include both a battle map, but also interesting features on those battle maps. So maps where not only like there's elevation, which I think is essential, but also like other features of the terrain that you mention in the text for the map.
The creatures, it's their lair. It's their home. There should be elements of it that work for them, and then maybe some elements that work against them. So it's just more fun. I feel like it's like when you're in a video game and you're playing through like an open world and you're like exploring and you're like, oh, I wonder if this area does this, and you go over and it doesn't. So someone didn't cook quite hard enough here. So I think it'd be sad to create a map for a monster and not have it have these kind of features. Even me, when I'm making the maps, when I'm drawing them, it's fun for me to be like, oh, I could include some sharks in the water here, and I can just create some small quick rule that's just fun. Yeah, so it's just more. Again, it's fun, and that's really what I'm aiming for with these creatures, and also I guess the foundation of the Mythical Press is built on my disappointment with D&D's monsters. I think like Fizban's Treasury of Dragons was like the first like one for me when I was like super excited for the book. I bought the book expecting to find all these monsters, all these dragons that are super interesting, and they were just bland and boring and watered down, and I was like, not what I envisioned a book about dragons would be. So I want to put in the effort, and basically everything within my magazines is what I wish I had. If I saw that there was a magazine for Draw Steel that was making monsters, what would I want to see in that? And I feel like if I had a map but with no kind of like annotations about it or any kind of like useful tips or tools or ways to make it more interesting, that would be a loss. So it's important to me that the monsters and their lair feel like one coherent thing, rather than just the monsters and a random map. It should feel like this map was made for this monster.
That is so very often missing from, like, I feel monsters in general, but with Draw Steel, as you mentioned, with the maps being good, maps being so important, I think, for a better combat feel. I was really impressed with
Well, thank you.
With both the maps and the art and just how much there is for each of the monsters. I mean, for the Rotterhund, you even have like a companion for
yeah, that was my the companion was a later addition to the Rotterhund, but I was telling my friend I was telling my friend about it, and my friend is liking as his band, so he's making the music for the Mythical Press. But I was telling him about it and what I've created, and he was like, "Oh, that's really really cool. Can you have one like as like a pet?" And I was like, "The Beast Heart has just come out." And I was like, oh, I've got to now, haven't I? I can't not now. I need the Rotterhund deserves to have a companion. So it was a later edition, but one that as soon as he said that, I was like, yeah, it really needs one. And that's kind of why my ideas for the creatures come from. Is like, what does this creature deserve? What does this creature deserve to make it feel meaning and impactful and interesting? Yeah, like a montage test to find the sirens, which I did not plan to come out around the Odyssey. Obviously, I'm not.
Oh, I didn't think of that. That's so good.
I'm not. I didn't plan it. If people thought I did, I'm very very appreciative. I think I'm that clever. But yeah, it was just a happy coincidence. But it's that classic thing of being on the ship and the sirens and trying to find them through the mist or hearing them through the mist. So that was like an immediately like they deserve a montage test. That does exactly that. And the Rotterhund and like similarly, and then the witch doesn't have a montage test because there wasn't one that came to mind where I was like, the witch feels like she needs a montage test, but she definitely feels like she needs some rules for negotiation.
Yeah.
So each monster has what comes with it is what I feel they deserve, and yeah, so that's basically what my thought process when I created each one.
I really appreciate being, but both having like a framework, but also being flexible about tweaking or like bending the framework when it needs to be bent to make it feel more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If my idea for each magazine is that it has to have a montage test, then I start thinking, okay, I'm doing this witch. I don't have an idea for montage test. I need to come up with an idea rather than the idea just being there. And I'm like, well, I need to do this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that will show in the design and it will feel forced. And I want to respect players and not have them feel like I'm giving them something because I feel like it should, like, well, I did the montage test for the last one. This one needs one as well. But they were all, and sometimes I have to think a little bit more about the ideas. But as soon as I have an idea that I'm really happy with, and I get like hungry to make it, that I know I'm onto a winner there. So yeah, so I'm excited to play around with it more really.
And the last thing that I noted down that you make for each of the or at least so far for the two we've seen, is a title for killing them. For like, here's like the reward of taking one of them down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I want my content is mainly for directors, I guess, because I've always been the game runner. I've always been the DM, the GM, the director. It's in my blood to write and tell stories, and I love it. I don't also want my content to only be for directors. So that's limited. As a business, it's limited for the Mythical Press.
Sure.
So yeah, but I'm happy to be the champion for directors who love monsters. I want to do it's the Mythical Press is a love letter to everyone who enjoys including like creatures in their stories that are interesting. Mythical Press is for you people, those people. But yeah, obviously the players are, you can't. There are some games that do like you can just play. It's a one-player TTRPG, but Jawson's not one of them, and so I also want to give them, the players a reward for killing them creatures and have that also be like a fun thing. Like it doesn't. What I like about titles as well is you can kind of it's almost like an item in a way. And I've been playing around with that a little bit more. Like the like one of the options for the siren for the for the title was that they like make a skin from its hide,
Yeah.
and then the players get to have fun being like imagining their players with a cape made from like this like snake this like sea serpent skin that gives them some sort of like benefit, and that's really fun as well. I feel like that's players will enjoy that, and directors will enjoy giving their players that. So yeah, it's fun.
I want to ask you one last question that or rather, I'm curious about what your ambitions are with the Mythical Press. Like, how is it a goal for you to make it like a part-time gig, or even more than that, or is it like is it your side project?
The Mythical Press is. I hope I'll be doing it for years, and my hope is that it can take over my part-time job, and I get to do it full time.
Hmm.
That is my hope, and the support so far in the past 2 months has been incredible, and it makes me feel like I'm on the right path with that.
Hmm.
So I'm definitely going to be providing more, but I definitely have plans for the Mythical Press to get bigger and better. I think it's going to keep to a monthly, like 9 releases a year. That is what it's going to largely to be. But I do have ideas for other products to make, like books and like not like larger PDFs where maybe there's an archetype of creature that kind of deserves, rather than just having, again, it comes back to what this creature I feel like deserves.
Hmm.
If there's a certain archetype of creature that maybe we haven't seen much in Draw Steel, I feel like there's a big opening there. Yeah, if there's like 100 there and people really want to see like more of this kind of stuff, or I know that I want to see this kind of stuff in Draw Steel. If that archetype can't be put into one magazine, it was a thought I had of whether I have like issues where, okay, for the next 3 months it's just this archetype and it's different versions.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and there might be I have ideas for some creatures that I think will fit that better, but then there are other types of creatures where I'm like, I feel like you want one big book
Hmm.
with just everything you need. You're like, I want this kind of creature in Draw Steel, and this one product from Mythical Press is the one-stop shop for you. You don't need anything else. This is it. So I've got some very early ideas, and I'm beginning to make like the frameworks of how I'm putting them together. I think they'll probably be going to back it rather than just Patreon
Hmm.
as larger products that I can work on. That that basically transition is my transitional period from the Mythical Press being a part-time love to being my full-time, love. uh, um, so yeah, I don't want to give away too much.
Sure.
But if there's, I feel like if there's a certain kind of creature that if anyone out there is like, I really want to see this creature in Draw Steel, then that's my kind of thought of, I don't want people to have like sift through multiple issues to like piece together
Hmm.
everything they need for this one creature, one kind of creature. I'd much rather create one book where they can be like, I need this one thing for all of that.
Hmm.
And I might include things in the future where it's extrapolations off of that, and maybe like release them as bundles so they have them all in one place. But I'm struggling whether I give away too much or say anything. But I'm scared. I'm scared that I'll utter the word of the creature on my mind, and then someone will steal my idea, and I won't be able to do it. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go for it. There's no particular timeline. I would love to be able to release it, not release it, but at least release it on BackerKit next year. But I do have a whole idea for basically dinosaurs in Draw Steel,
Oh yeah.
which I think in Lookout there are some,
Hmm.
but I've got some ideas about how I can make that really really fun. and I'm excited. I'm excited for that to be my first big project, rather than these smaller projects. I can work on it I can work on it throughout the year if it succeeded, and then release it when it's ready.
Hmm.
So I'm really excited for the next year. I'm really excited for 2027 for Mythical Press. I think it's going to be I think I'm going to have a lot of fun, and I think people are going to like really enjoy what I release. And also on top of that, one of the things I wanted to like talk about is also in the month breaks that we have. After every 3 issues, I'll have a month break. But I'm basically spending that month off with a poll, basically for people to vote on what the next creatures that gets to come out. As I said, I want this. This is the Mythical Press is, my love letter to all the directors and the storytellers and the out there who want to include interesting creatures. I want them to have some kind of agency over what they get to see. And so I'll be in December. I'll be holding a poll for March's release in 2027. I'm really excited for that because I feel like that's going to be like a almost like a community chosen creature. That's going to be really fun. I'm really excited for that.
We are closing in on the hour, and I always ask my guests to bring some kind of recommendation or recommendations to the listeners. So what have you brought?
I've been reading recently. I just rereading Robin Hobb's sagas, but it's books that I really enjoy. I read them when I was a teenager, and I can roughly remember what happened. But I'm now rereading them, and they are. I went from reading a couple of books that were a bit hard to choose through, so they were like a 300-page book, and I was taking like far too long to read 300 pages. And then I've read 300 pages in about a week. I've chewed through her books, and they're amazing. So Robin Hobb is a fantastic author, great storyteller. Yeah. So if anyone's currently wanting like a new book to read, jump on that because they're fantastic.
And unknown recommendation for my part, but I'll make sure to look into it because I'm looking for books to read.
Yeah, honestly, they're fantastic. They're so good.
It has been a delight to have you on. I'm really excited about the upcoming issues of the Mythical Press, and because first 2 issues have really given me a taste for more.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted. That I feel like they're both strong in their own right, but they're definitely like stepping stones to larger stuff. And The Witch, I think, it's been my most ambitious project yet. So I'm really excited for that. It was I don't want to overshadow like the Woad Hag in Draw which is a really fun monster. It didn't really quite scratch the itch of the Witch that I'm a poet, I didn't even know it. Yeah, it didn't really scratch the itch of what I like to see from those kind of creatures, and that's so my imagining of the Witch is more in line with like the Crones from The Witcher 3 or Robert Eggers' The Witch. Those kind of more sort of gritty, grounded, scary version of the Witch. That's kind of what I've in mind towards. So, I don't want to. I feel like they can work in a vacuum and work together almost, and feel like they fit in their own category nicely without you having to choose which one you want to use.
I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you so much for coming on, Finn. It's been great.
This has been incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on, Finn. I've been really enjoying the first 2 issues, and especially the siren. I think the design for the siren really looks interesting. It invites the players to think tactically different. If you want to be featured on Goblin Points or know of someone else who should be, leave a comment on YouTube or Spotify or send me an email on tips@goblinpoints.com. Links to everything, including this script, can be found in the show notes and on goblinpoints.com. You can support my work by becoming a patron member. Paying members get to submit questions for my upcoming guests here on Goblin Points. You also get access to premium features on Stall. Stall is a digital toolset for playing and running Drasteel, digital hero sheets, encounter builder, monster lookup, the complete rules text, and more, such as the Stall Supplement Index, a comprehensive list of supplements being published for Drasteel in one convenient place. Visit stall.app, STAWL.app. Also, if you're listening to this when the episode drops, my crowdfunder just went live for Power Roll dice called Lunar Umbra. If you want some proper 20-sided D10s and useful D3/6s, check it out on BackerKit. Link is in the description and on goblinpoints.com. Next episode is on the 5th. That's the news episode for August. All that's new in one place. See you next time. Snackis.